Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Local Pundit. I'm Josh Anthony. This is your Wrexham Daily News and Update Show for Tuesday, November 11th. Yes, it is November 11th. We are just at the start of this international break, and we'll try to fill up the time as best we possibly can. Get some guests here talking about some things. Try to get the Velvet Hammer if we can, as we talked about. But today we're talking about Kieffer Moore and how he's pulled out of the international squad, and how I'm okay with it. I'm absolutely okay with it, and I hope you all too, all are too as well, because guy needs a rest, and we don't know the extent of the injury right now. We did have him come off the other day, and it didn't look too bad, but you never know with these things, especially if it's a high hamstring injury. But yeah, so I'm kind of glad that he's pulled out. We'll talk about that briefly. Who's the cover going to be? We have Ipswich coming back in. It's never going to be an easy game, and what the rest might be for him in the next couple days. But anyways, thank you for coming in. Smash that like button and subscribe to the Local Pundit. We are like 29 away from 3,001. I don't know. We're almost there. We're going to get there, which is great. So thanks to this awesome, fantastic global community. And all of you, how are you doing today on this Tuesday? And it feels, like right now, I just said we're at the start of the international break, and after coming off the high, winning at Charlton, it's just like it feels. The 22nd feels a long ways away. And actually, it's my brother's birthday on that day, so early happy birthday to him. But yeah, so not much news going on. There was some news last week, just briefly. Parkinson was. Sean Harvey labeled the outrageous disgrace about Parkinson possibly his job in jeopardy. So those are little things, that tidbits here and there. But as far as the squad is looking, I think the squad of our injury woes just keep coming through. And Kieffer Moore just seems to be the latest one. Nikki D says, "Morning, Josh. Good day. How are you, Wayne? How are you?" And Leapin Sarah says, "Hello. How are you?" So anyway, so let me just pull this out right here. I'm going to pull this up. This is in the Leader today. Talking about Kieffer Moore has pulled out of the Welsh squad for the upcoming World Cup qualifiers against Liechtenstein and North Macedonia. I got that right. Liechtenstein. Look at me getting reading words today, which is great. Yes, he was forced off with injury. 1-0 victory against Coventry City, which was great. Basically, it was said that there's a couple of people that are pulled out of the Welsh squad: Ben Davies, Ben Cabagno, and Kieffer Moore. But interestingly enough, Issa Gabore has went out to his international duties, and Libby has also been kept back in. So I think Gabore, I don't know where they're playing. I think they're actually playing in. Did I hear? No, Kakache's team is playing in London. I don't know where Gabore is playing. But so I look at it this way. Kieffer Moore needed a rest anyways. The guy gets his ass kicked on the pitch all over the place. Now, we don't know the extent of the injury, but it's bad enough for him not to go away, which is kind of has us heart and mouth at this point, waiting to see how bad it is. It didn't look like, I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV. It didn't look like there was, it was like a tear, or he just kind of went down. He's holding the high back of his kind of like lower cheek there, upper leg, whatever you want to call it. So look, as long as he rests up, hopefully we get him back on the 22nd. We'll see. If he's not ready when we come back in the next, 11 days from now, we got to think about, obviously, Sam Smith, who hasn't been getting much time on the pitch, and Hardy hasn't been getting much time on the pitch. It's time for next man up to step up. And, I think that we don't quite know if Sam Smith can do it at this level yet, because he hasn't played the championship. So I'm not saying he can't, but he's had flashes. He's had 5-10 minutes here. Hard for a striker to get into a game. Remember when a couple of years ago, when Jack Marriott was only getting just a quick look in here and there after Paul Mullen was playing all those minutes. He didn't really come up with any goals. Yeah, he scored one goal at the end of the season there against Forest Green. But it's hard to get into, as a striker, to get into some kind of groove, get into some kind of like groove with the rest of the team. So if Kieffer Moore isn't fit in 10 days from now, 11 days from now, it's going to have to be either Hardy or it's going to have to be Sam Smith. Has he played a lot with Windass up front? Probably not. So hoping, if that's going to happen, I think that should be top of mind for the next week or so. And we will come out. I mean, this all is kind of speculation at this point, because we don't know how bad how bad Kieffer Moore's injury is, and there's not really a like for like change. We don't have another Kieffer Moore. We don't have another big guy. We don't have a Fletcher, who plays that big role. Kind of a little bit different. Hold up play. Sam Smith can hold the ball up, and Hardy is kind of a guy to keep the ball on the ground and likes to go on the shoulder. And he hasn't played. I think he's only played a couple minutes himself. So it's going to be wait and see how bad it is. The injury is with Kieffer Moore. I don't like the fact that all the players are going down. There's nothing we can do about it. That is part of the game. But it just seems like we just all over the place. We just got little ones here, little ones there. And I thought we had more cover going into this season. The middle of the park is probably where we have the most cover. In the back, a little bit light here and there, especially with Brunty going down. But I would say up front, we're probably the lightest. And I thought we would be better, which makes me think now, in January, it's November 11th, I would start looking at getting another striker. I would. Parkinson obviously fancies Kieffer Moore, a big body up front, because he does a lot of the legwork on defense. Also is scoring goals. I think he has 8 goals or something like that. He is putting himself about, but he gets his absolute ass kicked every game. And how long can he last about that? I would love to have a like for like backup, but I don't think that's possible. What's up, JL? How you doing? How you doing on this Tuesday, JL? Where are you watching from? So listen, it's wait and see on that one. The Libby one, we talked about it yesterday. It's bad enough to keep him out, which is also good. In this, we have in this league, it's never gonna be slow. It's never gonna be easy. We're coming into the holiday period, and there's gonna be games. I hate to use the phrase over and over again, but thick and fast. But they are coming thick and fast. So I'm actually happy that Kieffer Moore sat out, whatever it is, even if it is, even if he can't play that Ipswich game coming back. It's good. Give him a rest. The guy plays so many minutes and plays so hard. It's not like he's just kind of, dancing around up there up front. He is in a battle with 2 or 3 guys on him at all times. He is the Pink Pony Club. Habs is in the house. Michael's in the house too. But as soon as we do hear of anything that coming out with him, we will look at it. We will look at it and we'll get it right to you, see what's going on. Another article here that I saw in the BBC, which I thought was pretty interesting too. But let me just go back before I get to this article. If Kieffer Moore is out, who would you start up front? Would you start Sam Smith? Would you start Broadhead up front? Maybe you put Broadhead up front, or would you put Ryan Hardy up there? Wanting to get your thoughts on that too. Hab says we can finally see Smith and Hardy. You're going to have to do it, or you play Broadhead up front. I think Broadhead did go out on international duty for sure. So hopefully he comes good out there too and comes back unscathed as well. Maybe you play Broadhead up front. I don't know if that's it. George, what's going on? How you doing, George? Good to see you. Brother, happy Veterans Day today as well. Okay, patience and belief. I thought this was a really cool article. I just saw that. The patience and the belief. This is by Ian Mitchellmore. Good name. Wrexham went into the final international break of 2025 on a high as they earned a hard-fought 1-0 victory over Charlton. We knew that. I'll tell you this too. The article goes on to say our side has been coping with some ups and some downs, but mostly we've been on like this slow upward trajectory. And Patty and I talked about it yesterday. If you hadn't, well, go back and watch yesterday's show between Patty and I. We had a good hour and a half chat about everything. It was really good. We knocked on this a little bit too. It says early desperation as a squad evolves over time. Now, Parkinson had mentioned that early in the season we were kind of getting over our skis a little bit. He said that we were chasing games in a little bit more of a desperation, and I think he was right. And I think that's why we dropped points. Parkinson was reflecting on their home side's victory against Charlton. He said, particularly at home, Parkinson said, in the early games, we were almost chasing the games in a bit of desperation to get the first win. Now, we didn't win our first match at home, I think, until like almost a couple weeks ago. We lost like 3 in a row or whatever it was, or drawn one, whatever the stats were. But he was right. We were trying to get that monkey off our back to be like, all right, we got that win. I remember when we did get that win at home, I was like, all right, that one's done. We can't win at home. The fortress is done. We can't win at home. Great. That's done. And so I think the evolution of what's happening to this squad and what Parkinson and Parkin are doing with the team is getting more confident, feeling like they belong, even though these players have played the championship, but just ticking little boxes off of there too. And not feeling like, we have to get this win or else. We are used to it having a winning squad, especially at home. So it's one of those things where yes, we were a little bit desperate at the beginning. When we lost at Southampton, that's one particularly. I know it was a home match, but losing that match just took the stuffing out of us. And I was like, oh shoot, here we go. We're in the championship. And I think that's going to be good for us in the long run in this season. I think it's going to help us grow. I think it's going to, and you see the growth right now. We might not be, in the playoff places right now, but we're just a couple points out of it. Sitting in 13th isn't great, but if you look at the points total, you can see that we are slowly but surely, gradually going up. Parkinson talked about September. He said they changed the squad around here too. Completely, there was going to be a period at the start where it was going to be completely as you did. It doesn't go completely as you want it. Yeah. So he's basically saying we had planned on winning these games and we didn't lose them. So we changed the squad around completely, and there was always going to be a period at the start where it doesn't go completely as you want it. Understanding me, this was in our period of the gelling period. But for now, that is put to bed too. That is absolutely put to bed. I think the team is doing very, very well, especially with all the injuries that have happened, all the setbacks, everything coming in. I think that that desperation is slowly turning into confidence, and that's Parkinson. I knew going into this season, everyone said it. We're gonna have to lean on Parkinson for what his knowledge and his knowledge of this league. Now, I'll say this flat out, his record isn't the greatest in the championship, but that's because he wasn't packed. He was with Bolton, keeping them up. All those things, all those factors come into play. But even in the course of his career, I believe that he's coming good, and he's actually proving his worth and how good he is. It starts with our defense, and our defense has really stepped up. Clean sheets are starting to happen. We don't score 5, 6, 7 goals at a time, like chunks, but we are scoring goals, and just enough so we can go and win football matches. Sorry about that, my phone went off twice. Michael says he'd like to start Hardy up front, and JL's in Lonigan, 9 miles from the church at the Stoke. That is the Stoke Rouse. Welcome in. Chicky Brewer, how are you, Chicky? Good to see you. Ruth is in here. What's up? How are you? Mike Shane says, could this injury to Kieffer Moore force Parky to have a strategy change in formation from crossing or corner kick offense and more varied up front? Varied up the middle offense. Varied up the middle offense. Offense to a more varied up the middle offense. I don't know what that exactly means, but I think you're saying, could he change his strategy rather than trying to put long balls, corners, crosses in? I think we're capable of doing it. We are a more possession-based side, but we do continue to get balls down the wing and crosses in. And to be fair, I think the defenses that we went against have done very well at eating those up. And, I do think we need other forms of attack as well, keeping the ball on the ground, putting through balls in. Kieffer Moore is not a speed merchant. He's not. Windass can get through. He's not super fast. And for whatever reason, Broadhead, who hasn't been on the pitch that much, hasn't shown what exactly he can do, his pace. He's really on the ball a lot, but, it could be possible, but I hope we don't have to go down that route. I hope Kieffer is okay. But it is good to have multiple players scoring goals, which is great. And Wayne says, interesting that Parky's the typo say the 5 Parky's angle. What the fuck, guys? Not interesting that Parky's angle, not him leaving exhausted players on the pitch. I don't know what that means, but I think I'll decipher it. It's interesting that Parkinson leaves exhausted players on the pitch, like he doesn't want to make a change. I think that's what you're trying to say too. I don't know that, but I can't read today, or the typos are typoing. Smith would be better against certain opposition. Sometimes Hardy would be better against certain opposition. Yeah, that's why you pick the team for the team you're playing against. I agree with you, Habs, 100%. Parkinson tends to just pick the team, as it for him, as it pertains to him. I don't really see him making changes like, oh, they got a pace spurt on the left, so we got to get so and so on. I don't really see him doing that. Maybe even better than Moore, depending on who we're up against. Yes. Well, Ipswich coming in, they're gonna have confidence. They just came down. They're not in fantastic, form, I don't think. But Ipswich is a big side. That's going into this match too. In the 2 Sundays from now, it is play the back of the shirt, not the front. That's what I think. George says we really need both Kakache and Kabore on the pitch and playing well before we can effectively work up the middle of the pitch. Why? I think we've seen Kakache and Kabore on the pitch. Well, I know Kakache wasn't on the last game. We did see it a couple times, and they looked really good. It was a good balance there too. Kakache, his injuries, we talked about it again yesterday. His injuries, his lack of time on the pitch is a little bit concerning, and our coverage there is not great. Our coverage there is not great. So Kabore is inconsistent but aggressive. He does some things really well, and he does some things that are like, oh, okay, that was, he tries to do a little bit too much. But he obviously, Patty was talking about yesterday when he was at the game that, you know, the crowd really likes him. He really likes it too. I think he's just a little bit unpredictable. That seems to be the word we're talking about with him. He's a little bit unpredictable. And, you know, Kieffer Moore, for lack of a better word, if he doesn't know to go to the forward run or to the back stick for some of his crosses. And I think that'll just come with a little bit more consistency and a little bit more coaching. He's very good, Kabore is. But we need to see how good he actually is. And with Kakache, too, I haven't seen enough of him. I know he's a good player. I just haven't seen enough of Kakache to say, oh yeah, I know he's our starter. But I haven't seen enough of him to see how good he is really. Bono, what's up, dude? How are you? And Hip Karma's in the house. Good morning, Hip Karma. How are you? George says, what I mean is that we need the wings working well before the middle of the pitch becomes open for us to drive through. Balance, yes, balance. Right now, we are relying on wing play. Right now, 100%. We are absolutely just relying on wing play to score goals. I don't. You know, and some of the counterattack, which, you know, we can obviously, which we were doing a little bit better, O'Brien being one of them, but we need a little bit more balance is what I think you're saying, which is we will absolutely get it. What else is going on here? Yeah, again, not much news going out here, just waiting on, you know, some of the injuries and how long people will be out. Williamson was talking about explaining, this is an interesting article here too. I'll just read this real quick. Talking about explaining starting to click. Okay, starting to click. Michael Williamson had to say about the team starting to click. I got the gel conversation again, which we put to bed. So Michael Williamson said, for Phil also coming into the championship, just like some of the players on the pitch, like Max Cleworth, the first few matches for him as well, it took some time to understand the league and understand the opponents, says Williamson. Except for Charlton and Birmingham, there are all new squads we're playing, new teams, new players, and new coaches that we're all playing against. You need a few of those matches to just even be able to understand how the best approach that tactically in preparation, training schedules, and then on the pitch. Well, I think we're just kind of reflecting. Michael Williamson is reflecting on, you know, getting into the league and understanding it, going against new teams. Yeah, all that. There's a whole big feeling out period for sure. Michael Williamson went on to say, the other thing is that we were still building the squad from the start of August in our season. We had players that we knew were going to be part of the squad, but there are also players coming in that we were looking to bring in more experienced players for performance. Now, the one thing I will say, all of the recruitment that we've had, Parkinson isn't about really developing talent. We talked about that yesterday too. He wants established guys that can come in right now, hit the ground running, whether he uses them or not. Parkinson is not about, I'm sure he wants to develop talent. And I think we would do a little bit more talent development if we weren't racing up the league so much, or we were in more cup competitions, i.e. Ashfield getting more starts. Now he's been injured, or Max has been the only steady Eddie of someone that's getting, as a young player, that's getting to develop his talent. The rest of the guys, it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate. So, but the recruitment that Parkinson has brought in, everyone is an established player. Everybody. That's why we bring in all the kind of the captain. We could talk about the captains and all that stuff too. So he's bringing in a lot of those players. Jay Ellis says Longman, being predominantly right-footed, is not the best suited at wingback. But who else for Libby? I think we'd have to go into the market for that. Jay, I think we'd have to go into the market for that. Sea Lord is on the beach in Baja. He's reporting in, and Hab says we are progressing up the league slowly, and we are. You could see the difference in the squad. You could see that there's a big difference between 13th and 16th, in my opinion. But even just taking out the where we sit in the position, just taking out how far we are actually out of those playoff places. Now, Coventry City is going to go on and probably win the league. You know, someone called it a long time ago, but there is competition between 2nd and 13th right now. There's competition for those spaces, and it's gonna and there's going to be a lot more twists and turns. But yes, we are progressing up this league. Mike Shane says the problem with working from the wings, it is defeated too easily by double teaming Kabore and having 3 men beat Kieffer Moore in front of the goal. We need some creativity in the middle. Yeah, the only actual creativity that I've seen on the ball has been Broadhead. But he gets double teamed as well. It's easy to shut down those wings because all you got to do is just stand in front of them, try to create some space. Kabore or Barney or Libby or whoever is on the wings, try to create some space. If you know the ball is going to come in, and obviously, I think Ryan Barnett's probably the best crosser in the championship, even right now, even though he doesn't play much. But he doesn't get that much time on the pitch. And once you figure out his first move, he gets stopped. That said, the defenders all you got to cozy up nice to Kieffer Moore and just block. Just do just anywhere will do. Put a head on it. Hab says Max has been our talent, and we've been developing as the talent. Ashley will come through for us. Eventually, looks very promising. A local talent like Max, he will come through. But Parkinson, anyone he buys, he's not buying like a 19-year-old to develop him. He's not buying a 18-year-old or 20-year-old to develop him. He's buying established players. That's not to say he can't. He can't do that at some point. We're just moving up the league too much. We just don't have enough games that we can waste to potentially be like, well, let's put Ashfield against Birmingham City to get some experience. We're just not going to do that. We have different goals. Maybe someday, but not now. Longman considers himself a right winger, not a left wing back. That's my problem with Longman too. And I said this yesterday. Longman's not a wing back. He's a winger. He's a winger. Now, he's missed a few shots, but he's got a good engine on him. He's a winger. And in fact, I don't think he fits in the system that well. He needs to be, if he was playing a 4-3-3, I think he'd be up on the right wing. I think he's playing himself out of position. And on that note, I don't know what position Broadhead is supposed to be playing in. So I don't know. I don't quite see how he fits in. One thing people are forgetting is we'll be missing Kabore for the week for the AFCON duties. He'll be depending. That could be 3 to 4 weeks. He could be gone. That's a whole month. Can get away with Longman on the right, but needs Kakashi healthy on the left. Yes, we do. But that'll be after January or during January. Do we bring somebody in? I think our wings, the drop off is big. Once the gelling place in Denmark has been fully embodied, we will function more like a proper unit. And I think that's what he was going on to say. I totally agree with that. Williams said in this article here, it took a little more time for it all to click. When you get 13 new players coming in together, it takes time for them to understand each other. I think we are pretty much right now in that, okay, if you don't understand each other by now, there's a problem. I understand it does take more time possibly, but I see what our trajectory and us moving up the league slowly but surely. You can see it happening. It's not pretty at times. This is pure Wrexham football. This is grind to the bone, calluses, learning how to win football matches, on the job training for everybody on the pitch. So, I think that process is done. Michael Williamson said, we are now seeing with a run of 5 unbeaten in the league and 1 defeat in our last 10. And that's starting to click. I think you just put that to bed for sure. The players are starting to understand each other more, says Michael Williamson. So much so that you can now start to have a little bit more of a squad rotation, as well as we saw on our last match with some different players playing together on the pitch. Well, I think we were forced into that. Squad rotation isn't a Parkinson thing. A squad rotation is one guy, not 2 or 3, 4. We did see a 3 or 4 a couple games ago that he was forced into one of those because one was an injury and the other one was a ban. So the squad rotation will be key coming up to this crucial holiday break, as always during the Christmas break. So yeah, get everyone on the pitch, get them gelling out. But right now, I think we're in really good position. I think we've grown into this league really well. I like how Parkinson is adapting some of the players. There's some things that aren't perfect. It's never going to be perfect. But we are growing. Wait and see what happens. And if we're close in these positions, and let's give it another month or so, I would say go into the market. I would say I would go into the market. Yes, there's certainly an incentive from AFCOM to get a winger earlier in the January window. I agree with that too. And George says, Habs, we still need a consistent threat on the left side to keep double teams off Kabore and Moore. Well, we got to get Kachi on the pitch. John Elmer, how you doing? Josh, I think if you're in the top half of the top, the texting today is crazy. Josh, if I think you're in the top half of the top, Parkey will have the green light to spend money. What do you think his budget will be? I think it's 10 M's, 10 to 12, maybe something like that. That's probably 2 players, maybe 10 to 15. I think, but we got to get rid of some players. I think Elliot Lee probably won't see the pitch. I don't think he's going to register Andy Cannon, and we'll see what happens with some of the other guys. But I don't think those guys are going to be registered. I'd say 10, 15. I'd love to see another signing come in. I'd love to see another 2 signings come in, if possible. Good shout. Lip Karma. Parkey tried buying a young talent last season and got stick for it. Mo Fall. He never played him. I mean, he barely played. But, what was he? He was 22. He barely played. He sent him on loan. Losing important players in the middle of the league seasons for international duty is something I've gotten used to as a North American sports fan, I guess. Yeah, it is what it is, Patty's in the house. Again, I want to see Wrexham buy the best 19-year-old they can afford join us in January. Well, I'm no longer 19. I'd love to see that too. Top half of the league. Thank you. I'd like to see that too, Patty. Bruce says the defense is organized and Kabore has been working well within it. But sometimes we see Kabore out of sync with attacking players, especially Moore. I think there's a pace difference there. I think Kabore is way up front, or Kieffer Moore is in no man's land. So that balance of play hasn't really worked out. But again, Kabore I think is coming good. His defensive duties are really good. He's got to work on his consistency. I get the emotional connection with Max, but being homegrown, and he is competent. But our lack of quality in academy, which we are trying to address, means we have to buy players on the outside. Yes, I agree with that too. 10 million a player would be a reasonable budget. 10 million would be a reasonable budget from prospective championship starter. Go get Sargent. Fall was 2 years ago. Last year brought in the Swedish lad who went to Burton and Smith and J-Rod. Yeah, he's not buying to develop talent. I mean, he just isn't. We need a wing back up and rotate his Habs. And Sea Lord says, missed the early part of the show. Is there a concrete injury news on Moore? No, there's no concrete injury news on Moore other than we know that he pulled out of the Welsh international squad because of injury. We don't have the extent of the injury. We don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully in the next couple of days, we will find out what the extent of that injury is. So just keep one eye on that too. Anyways, quick one today. Thanks for coming in. Smash that like button. We have shows this week. Champ Chat will be on Thursday now. Champ Chat's going to be on Thursday, so check that out. Patty's going to be doing that. No tactical fortitude because nothing tactical fortitude about. Yeah, it's going to be. We'll try to get some things going on for this. We'll get some people in. You're very welcome, Sea Lord. Very welcome to come in. But yeah, smash that like button, share out, let us know how you're doing, let us know what you're up to, what you want to see over the next 12 days or whatever it is. Who you want, if we can see you have people on, try to get everyone on the show as much as we can. So anyway, thank you for coming in on that bombshell. See y'all soon.